Today we have evaluating rational exponents. So we have 8 examples to go over. So the first one, 81 raised to the 1/4 power. We can basically solve this one by rewriting it as the 4th root of 81 raised to the 1st power. The 4 goes on the outside of the root, and the 1 stays with the 81. So this is equal to um, the, the 4th root of 81. So taking the 1 away, because it's just a 1, it's equal to the 4th root of 81. So what this is basically telling us is what number multiplied by itself is going to give us 81. What number multiplied by itself 4 times is going to give us 81. So that number is going to be a positive 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 equals 81. So that is going to be our answer for number 1. Now number 2, negative 243 to the 1/5 power. We can also rewrite this one using the same logic from the first one as negative 243 to the first power, and then the 5th root. So the 5th root of negative 243 raised to the 1st power. Again, what number by itself multiplied 5 times will give us negative 243. That number is going to be a negative 3. Negative 3. Because parentheses negative 3 multiplied by itself 5 times is going to give us a negative 243. Alright, so your answer for this one is going to be a negative 3. Now, number 3, 8 raised to the negative 1/3 power. We have a negative exponent. So when we have a negative exponent, you want to get rid of it. And when we get rid of it, we put it in the denominator. So we can rewrite this one as 1 over 8 to the positive 1/3 power. We can rewrite this as that because when we want to get rid of the negative, and we take the 8 all the way to the denominator to get rid of it. And this is equal to 1, again 3 goes on the outside, the 3rd root of 8. So basically this is asking us what number multiplied by itself 3 times will give us 8, right? And that answer is going to be 2. So 1 over 2. Because 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So that is going to be our answer. 1/2. For number 3. Let's go on to number 4. 16 over 25, all raised to the negative 1/2 power. Again, in order to get rid of the 1/2, we're going to have to flip the numerator and the denominator. So we can rewrite this as 25 over 16, all raised to the positive 1/2 power. And the 1/2 power is basically the same thing as the square root. So we can also rewrite it as the square root of 25 over the square root of 16. Because the 1/2 is basically the same thing as the square root, right? The 2 is just invisible, and so is the 1. Alright, so the square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. The square root of 16 is 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, right? So your answer is going to be 5/4. That is going to be your answer for number 4. Oops, number 4. There we go. Now let's go on to number 5. 6 1/2 times 6 7/2. So we see that they have the same base, right? So this is going to equal to 6, and then an exponent times an exponent. We are going to add them, so that is going to equal to 6 8/2. When we multiply exponents like this, we add them. So 1/2 plus 7/2 equals 8/2. And the 6 is the same base, it stays the same. So 6 8/2. This is equal to 6 to the 8th power well, it's a square root. There's an invisible, I'm just gonna write it. There's a 2. So that's basically the square root of 6 raised to the 8 power. So just take 6 raised to the 8 power and take the square root of that. That will leave you with, you can use your calculator for this, or yeah, you can do it manually, but that's gonna take a while. But your answer is going to be 1,296. 1,296 for number 5. Now number 6, we have 6 1/2 divided by 6 7/2. So basically just this, but divided. So when we divide the exponents, we subtract them. Again, they're the same base, so 6, and then 1/2 minus 7/2 is going to equal to -3. Right? So again, this is a negative. We want to get rid of the negative, so we move the 6 down to the denominator. So this is 1 6 to the 3rd power. 1 over 6 to the 3rd power. And then just evaluate the 6 to the 3rd power, and you're going to be left with 1 over 216. So that's going to be your answer for number 6. 1 to the 1 over 216. Let's go on to number 7. We have f 3/4 times f 2/4 divided by f 1/4. So basically, all we have to do is, let's first multiply across the numerator, f 3/4 times f 2/4, which again, you are going to be left with the same base f, and then add 3/4 and 2/4 to get 5/4, right? 5/4. You add this these exponents, and now you're left with f 5/4 over f 1/4. And again, when we divide exponents, we subtract. So this is going to equal to f 4/4, which in turn is just going to give us f to the 1st, which is just going to give us f. So yeah, that's how you do number 7. Let's go ahead and do number 8. X to the 4/3 divided by y to the -5/3, all raised to the 3rd power, multiplied by x to the -2nd power divided by y to the +8 power. So we have that. So in order to do this one, we want to first, there's a couple ways to do it, but I'm just going to show you this one. First, we would basically put the this one, the negative exponent, we're going to switch it to the numerator to get rid of that negative exponent. So it's going to be x 4/3 times y +5/3 all over 1 raised to the 3rd power. And then for this one, we can just switch the negative exponent to the negative x, the x with the negative exponent to the denominator. So it's going to be 1 over x to the +2 power y8. And then we want to evaluate inside the parentheses with the power that's outside, which is the 3rd power, right? So when we multiply basically the 3rd power, when we raise 4 to the 3rd power by the 3rd power, when it's inside of parentheses, you basically multiply these two. You multiply them. So you're left with x to the 4/3 times 3. You're only going to be left with x to the 4th power. And y to the 5/3 times 3, it's y to the 5, y to the 5th power over 1. And then you just multiply the 1 times x squared y to the 8. Now you just multiply across. which you are going to be left with x to the 4th power, y to the 5th power, and x to the 2nd power in the denominator, y to the 8 in the denominator. That's what you're going to be left with. But now we can see that we can basically cancel some terms, right? We have a 4 and we have a 2. These two cancel out, so we're only left with x to the 2nd power in the denominator, in the numerator, because we have the 4 here and the 2 here, which 2 is less than 4, and they cancel each other out, so we're only left with a positive 2, x to the positive 2 in the numerator, right? And then we have a 5 right here and an 8 right here. They cancel each other out. Since we have more of y in the denominator, we're gonna be left with y in the denominator, but since it cancels out a 5, 8 minus 5 is basically 3, right? So we're only gonna be left with y to the 3rd power. So we have x to the 2nd power over y to the 3rd power, and that's going to be our answer for number 8. And yeah, that's how we do these examples of evaluating rational exponents. So yeah, that's it.